Time for another week of Tell Me I'm Wrong, folks. You get to watch me set up a little bit here. Yippity-doo-dah. Alright. No, audacity. How dare you have the audacity? I don't know why I have to say that. Every time I open Audacity, it's just a thing, I guess. I don't have to use the mouse. I've got that little Logitech with the nice 80s trackpad. Woo. Got a great show title this week, by the way. I think it's awesome. Considering I don't have anybody like a show bot, like a certain Tom Merritt has, to create his show titles, I got a pretty good... I'm coming up with decent show titles for the most part. Sure, it's a little red. It's kind of washing out everything, but oh well. Makeup. Can I hear myself? Test, test, test. Why does it always get... Man, it always seems to get quiet after a minute. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Tell me I'm wrong. Let's try here. Welcome to another week of the Tell Me I'm Wrong webcast. Seems really quiet. Why is it so quiet? It wasn't so quiet a minute ago. Welcome to another week. Welcome to another week. Welcome to another week. Welcome to another week of the Tell Me I'm Wrong webcast. Welcome to another week of the Tell Me I'm Wrong webcast. One problem I'm having is it's picking up the fan from the computer. I need to move the computer eventually here. Got a clock that ticks and everything in here. Oh well. Noisy chair, noisy computer, noisy clock. It picks it all up. Alright, well, let's close that. Let's look at something real quick here. You guys are getting to watch the setup this week a little bit more. I think we're up to episode 6 here. QMIW, episode 6, yep. Welcome to Tell Me I'm Wrong, Episode 6, Political Plight, Plunder, and Propaganda. Welcome to Tell Me I'm Wrong, another episode coming to you live from Hutto, Texas. You got John Bailey. Once again, I'm going to tell you guys that I'm shooting from the hip a little bit more, as I had promised I was going to do. This episode is about all the political pontification that is yet to come. We're in another election year, and lo and behold, we are hearing a lot from the candidates. Here's the problem. The same thing is starting to happen that happens every election season. We start hearing about, the candidates start saying things that are sensational. Everybody is surprised that Donald Trump is saying things that are, quite frankly, racist and unfortunate. And everyone's surprised that Hillary Clinton has skeletons in the closet. I don't know if they're surprised, but it's all anybody can talk about. And if you're on one side of the discussion, you're always going to point your finger at the opposite side of the discussion and say, oh, well, you're just a sheep then. You believe, and you think, and you know that everybody on the opposite side of the podium is wrong. Here's the thing. Nobody's wrong for believing in one way or another. When I start to think of what happens when we start talking about politics is it's so derisive and dividing and everyone has to get offended all the time. The Republicans get offended by the Democrats. The Democrats get angry at the Republicans. And you have to believe either one side or the other, and if you believe even one thing that a candidate of your opposite party says, you're sheep. And you point fingers and you call names. One of my favorite geeks, because I'm a geek. I mean, heck, the only reason I'm really doing this podcast is because I watch people do podcasts. And I like the idea, so I'm being a bit of a copycat. And I'm giving my opinions, because whether or not you want to hear them, I have them. And it's fun to be able to spout my opinion and see if anyone agrees with me. So far, no one's either agreed nor disagreed, and I'm talking to myself for the most part, but hey, who cares? But one of my favorite geeks is a guy named Will Wheaton. The guy is a geek's geek. He's into card games and science fiction and almost everything he's ever been in as an actor in his adult life anyhow, has been science fiction related. He's a man's geek. But from a political standpoint, the guy is about as offensive as you get. Now, given I haven't followed him, I actually unfollowed him on Twitter because, man, it got old. Last election, every other tweet was something political, and not just political, it was attacking. We can't talk to one another in a civilized fashion about our political opinions anymore, and we can't, God forbid, if you are a fan of a particular political candidate, but you happen to agree with something that another candidate says, you're a sheep, you're a left-wing nut, you're a right-wing crazy, you're a this, you're a that. Well, here's my opinion. The only time you're a sheep is when you're actually following an individual or a group of individuals blindly. That's what a sheep is. That's what sheep follows the shepherd. That's kind of what it means. And to say, well, you're a sheep for believing that. I'm a sheep because I believe that there should be some gun laws? No. I'm a sheep for believing that it's right, or it's wrong, I should say, for any of our rights to be taken away by the government. Any right. I mean the right to bear arms, all the way to the right to... I'm trying to think of something that... You know, and that's the other problem with not being organized here, is that in the past couple of weeks, in the first few weeks, I was kind of putting things all down in a Google Doc and trying to arrange my thoughts before I started the podcast. And it was brought to my attention that maybe I'm being a little too rigid, so I stopped doing that, and now collecting my thoughts before I get into this is getting to be interesting, so I might have to go back to doing that a little bit. But let's go back. Where I was going to shoot was the right for homosexuals to get married, for gay people to be happy. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Part of the preamble. I had to memorize the preamble to the Constitution of the United States in junior high. I don't know if they do that anymore, but they damn sure should. Every American citizen should grow up understanding, not just knowing and not just reciting, but understanding what the Constitution is intended to do. Now, it's not perfect, but it is to ordain and establish a more perfect union. We're trying to create a more perfect union. No such thing as perfect. We're just trying to make it as close to perfect as possible. That's what that sentence means. And the problem is that our approach has gotten so colluded over the years that it's really corrupted the process. The political process has gotten so diluted by the almost necessity of fame. You have to be well known to run for president, for the most part, or you have to have a buttload of money. I capitalized that B on purpose. I popped that B so that you would understand that you cannot run for president without millions of dollars. Not successfully, and not even in such a manner that you even get noticed. You cannot run for president in the modern day and age without a lot of money and without doing things that are sensational. You don't get noticed by media unless you do sensational things. Ask the Kardashians. I could care less about the Kardashians. I think the Kardashians are the downfall of our society. I think guys like Donald Trump are the downfall of our society, because he will say whatever it is he needs to say to get your attention. I really hope he doesn't win. I really hope he doesn't. From an economical standpoint, absolutely Donald Trump is probably the right choice. From a foreign relations standpoint, he is the worst possible choice, period. End of discussion. The guy has the tact of a hungry lion in a room full of broke-legged sheep. He attacks and chews on every subject, spitting the carcasses of his distasteful opinions all over the place. Whether or not anyone actually agrees with him, I don't know. but he gets attention. And because he gets attention, he gets the attention of, actually, here's the thing, there are people that do agree with him. That's the problem. He gets their attention really well. That's the sad thing. Now, I've said before, I lean Republican, I lean conservative, but anyone who's listened to these podcasts long enough knows that I don't conform to the entire left wing. Why is that so hard to say? Left wing or left wing, or right wing agendas, and you shouldn't either. You shouldn't believe everything any particular party tells you, because if you believe everything anyone tells you, if you believe everything I tell you, you're an idiot. And I'll say that out loud and repetitively. If you believe everything I say, you're an idiot, because everybody at some point in their life spews something that's absolute bullshit. It's our nature as people to spew bullshit. We are people who want to be noticed. I do this podcast because I want to be noticed. I want people to listen to me. No shit. I want you to listen to this podcast and think, hey, this guy is honest. He's informative. And most of my opinions I try to base on as much fact as possible, but I don't sit here and spew numbers either. I can't give you numbers off the top of my head unless I have some document full of numbers that you don't want to listen to anyhow. You can get those numbers off of earnings reports and off of, statistical reports. I talk about gun ownership, but I can't spew numbers. And if I did, you would remember it for 10 seconds and then forget it. And even if you did remember it, if you try to bring it up in a group of people who are anti-gun that have studied the subject, they're going to have statistics to say the exact opposite, because statistics can be made to say whatever you want them to anyhow. Same with politics. Exit polls are the worst thing in the world. These political polls where, I don't even call them exit polls or what they call them, but people who stand outside of grocery stores and ask you to sign and tell you who your political affiliation is with and who you vote for and what your political opinions are. That's bull. Because if I sit here and tell you that, if I sign in that checkbox that says that I'm a Republican, yeah, but I don't agree with everything the Republican Party says. Here's the honest-to-God truth. I vote for the person who I deem to be a lesser idiot. And I do mean lesser. Because at some point, all of these political candidates prove exactly what they are. Power-hungry rich guys. You don't gain that level of public office without having a taste for the power that it gives you. You might begin your public life as a public servant, serving your city council. Heck, you might even start serving on the school council, or serving on some sort of special utility district council, or heck, your HOA, because you want to make a difference. But then you start to notice that actually you can affect change. And because you can affect change, others will try to influence you. And at some point you realize that that benefits you. They want to influence you, and no matter how badly you try to protect yourself and insulate yourself from that influence, at some point they find a way. At some point they find your weakness. You want to protect the dolphins, don't you? Well, guess what? I will donate $2.5 million to protect the dolphins for you next year if you vote to approve this bond measure to build a school that actually includes $1 million in bloat money that's going to my company that builds steel beams. Those beams aren't going into the school, but it's going to my company because I donate money to the local Chamber of Commerce. All that means is that at some point, because I want my agenda, my reason for existing in public service is to get this thing that I care about taken care of. Well, the lobbyists have gotten really, really good at understanding that you, Mr. Politician, want to get your thing taken care of. Well, guess what? I'll help you get your thing taken care of if you take care of me. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That is the basis of American politics in the modern century. It is how it works. Whether or not you like it or you don't, that is how politics works. It is a flow of money. Everything to do with our political lives in America is now money. It was at one point. It was founded on the basis of people. It was founded on the basis of an economy of work, of contribution, of what you can do for your country. As one former Democratic president said very well, ask not what you can do for your country. No, I said that wrong. Why did I do that? Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. So that is what America should be, not entitlement programs and not what you can do for me. Now, yes, the one area where entitlements are right is social freaking security. Why would we not take care of the people who are too old to work? I get it. You don't want to help the guy who's not willing. I don't want to help the guy who's not willing either. I don't want to help that woman who just keeps having babies to get more welfare money. The problem is the system is set up in such a way they try to prevent, we'll get to this in a minute too, but the flow of money to entitlement programs is so incredibly screwed up that it actually hurts the people who need it. It helps the people who don't, it hurts the people who do. But, and that's the dream of the current Democratic Party. There was a time in which the Democratic Party hated entitlements. You should get back to that, to be quite honest, because government programs in which everyone else pays for the one don't work. The idea is that we all support each other. But if you realize how that pattern works, once you realize that I don't have to work because everyone else will support me, you end up shifting slowly to a nobody works because somebody will support me. And then you start to run out of the people who are working because they are moving over from the right to the left side where they don't have to get paid. They don't have to work, I should say, because the government's going to pay them. Because they're too poor to pay for anything themselves. They've had too many children. I don't have to work, I'll just pop out babies. Because the more babies I have and the less money I make, the more the government gives me. Well, that's the Democratic agenda, folks. Not only that is not only is that the Democratic agenda, it is their entire focus. Obamacare is nothing but the same thing. The problem is it's so incredibly broken that it's causing healthcare costs to go up, not down. Now, I can agree with the no pre-existing condition laws. I can agree with quite a few things out there that are involved with the healthcare quote-unquote reform, but the problem is that the reform policies won't work. They just won't. You can't force healthcare on people, especially if they can afford not to have it. If you're a rich guy with millions of dollars in the bank, quite frankly, you don't need healthcare. You don't have to have a healthcare plan. In fact, forcing insurance at all is an interesting sort of concept. Car insurance is a great example of that. If I'm a millionaire but I drive a Ford F-150, why do I need insurance? Really? I mean, that's rare. I get it. I'm not a one percenter. I do have to have car insurance because guess what? I'm not a millionaire. I can't afford to pay you $30,000 if I rear-end your car. But if I'm a millionaire, guess what? If I rear-end your 1995 Toyota Corolla, I'm just going to buy you a new car. I'm not even going to talk to the insurance company. Not only that, I probably don't need to have insurance, but if you live a modest life anyhow, most millionaires choose not to. They choose to drive Bentley Ghosts and stuff like that, $50,000, $60,000 cars, $1 million cars. But the idea of politically forcing insurance on people is such a stupid idea. Government regulation never helps anything. Government regulation confuses and dilutes and hurts everyone. So that's why I don't side with the Democrats. But forcing people to adhere to your beliefs is as bad, if not worse. Now, I'm going to say right now, I'm a white Christian male. I believe in the Lord, I believe in God, and I believe in Jesus, damn it. And you're not going to change my mind. I do, however, think that you have every right to disagree with me.